Hey guys, it's the Sports Center Brad Walker, and welcome back to Monday night. This is the fifth episode of Tampa Talk. Again, guys, as I do every week, this is part of the NGSC Sports Network and Primetime at Stables Network. Thank you to Mark Mancini and Breck for helping me set this up, as they do every week. Again, guys, I'm going to go into the topics I always touch every week. Talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, Lightning, Buccaneers, and the USF Bulls. And I'm going to also touch on the big college football game this weekend in the state of Florida between the Florida Gators and the Florida State Seminoles. I have an apology to make again. I did this last week, but I was misled. Come to find out, I've been telling you guys that USF is playing the Florida Gators next year in 2020. Come to find out that I was misread. It's actually 2021 when that will happen. So that is not going to happen until the 2021 season when the Florida Gators will be here. So it'll be another 2 years yet until the Florida Gators come to Raymond James Stadium to play USF. But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get into it this evening. I have to say that deadly rival roller derby went to Texas. Three of their players got rewarded for top honors. They were unfortunately unable to get a win. I am in the talks with them to have a weekly spot here on this show about talking about events coming up, their derbies, their anything that they will have, any kind of skater information, how their skaters are doing, their fundraiser stuff that they do for their travel team. I'm in talks with the owner and the board that they have set up to get a weekly spot on here for them, so that you'll be hearing more about them, because guys, they're in the Tampa Bay area and this is an all Tampa show. So I figured I would put them on here where you guys could listen out there and maybe get some people even out of state that listen to this show that get them into roller derby. Well, let's go ahead, guys. And like I said, thank you again for listening. If you happen to see me turn this direction, I am watching the Tampa Bay Lightning game versus the Buffalo Sabres. I'm going to get into the Lightning later on in the show. I was at the game on Saturday with my nephew and my brother-in-law in a very good hockey game that I will get into a little bit more later in the show. I'm going to go ahead like I did last week, guys. I'm going to start with the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, being that it's the off season for the Rays, there's not really a lot of news out there right now about them. I am finding tidbits here and there about them. So as of right now, because of the off season, we're just going to hear about trades and who they sign and who they let go. Right before I got on here, they did sign Mike Zunino, their catcher, to a 1-year deal. Unfortunately, guys, they lost their catcher from last year, Travis d'Arnaud. He signed with the Atlanta Braves, so he is not going to be here next year. I'm going to get into what the Rays are going to do, but there was an article that caught my attention by Seth Cart, and the title of the article is "Just How Cheap Are the Tampa Bay Rays?" Here's the article. After finishing last season with the third lowest payroll, which included 12% going to Evan Longoria and Edwin Encarnacion, the Rays eventually have room to spend. How much is the question? Despite having such a low payroll, the Rays have spent around 50% of their revenue on players' salaries. Some of the numbers look a little low, but that is attributed to the low amount of revenue and the shared $14.5 million every team pays for player benefits. The MLB and MLB Players Association have a target of 50% payroll revenue ratio each team. This is why this 2017 tweet caused some Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson-worthy eyebrow raising. Here's how playing by the percentages, guys. The low amount of revenue leads to misleading percentages such as this one. This is basically every team's payroll percentage from the 2017 season up till now. What's going on here? Here's what it is. Let's see here. Actually, that's from 2017. I really don't want to read that information. Well, I didn't know that article was that outdated. I apologize for that. That article was very outdated. But as you guys know, the Rays do have one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball. And the bad thing that I find interesting is, again, as I've said earlier in a couple of my shows and my other podcast, The Walker Report, it's sad to say, or see, should I say, see the fact that this team has won 90 games plus the last 2 seasons, and they cannot draw any attendance in Tropicana Field. The only other team that I could think of right now that's having that kind of low turnout is the USF Bulls, and I'm going to get into them later on too. Not the way that they should have gone out this past area, but again, I will get into that later. I'm going to do the Rays and the Lightning first, and then I'll get into USF and Tampa as I end, and then I'll talk about the Gators and the Knowles. But here is something by John Ford. This is a recent article. Actually, this was written earlier this morning at 9 a.m. Again, Travis d'Arnaud is a Brave. The catcher free agent Mark got a little thinner after the Braves named Travis d'Arnaud. I'm sure an offer was competitive, but at least we have always had New York. Going to miss d'Arnaud. I'll never forget this go-ahead 3-run blast in the Bronx. One of my favorite moments of the 2019 season. So here are some tidbits about the Rays. This move should move Jason Castro on the top of the Rays catching targets. Just real quick, guys, the Buffalo Sabres just scored a goal, and they're up 2-1. Mark Topkin also writes about missing on d'Arnaud's money. Ryan Thibodeau is a guy to follow if you like tracking the good and horrible in Hall of Fame ballots. Joe Lucia has an awful announcing rights about the Just Jeter Hall of Fame ballots and hopes this isn't a trend. One of Just Jeter's voters, Anthony River of Newsday, defends his ballot. Former Rays sideline reporter Michelle Margot has a new gig. Mark Topkin also writes about who's on third with Duffy. Duffy gone. Richard Justice writes about 8 free agents everyone is underrating, including DRP, Whistler, Howie Kendrick. Current Rays bench coach Matt Quatraro and former Rays hitting coach Derek Shelton appear to be finalists for the Pirates coaching gig. Buster Lonely, ESPN, writes about MLB's plan to contact the minors could cost more than money. Gabrielle Starr at the Hartford Tribune has a story about Jackie Mitchell, the 17-year-old girl who once struck out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Could MLB lift blackout rules for in-market games? Maybe. Finally, there's 2 hot dogs. One of them is Travis d'Arnaud. The other is the Braves. So that's basically it, guys. Like I said, there's not really a lot of information going on right now about the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, we are in the off season, and being that we are just a week outside of being in December. In fact, this upcoming Sunday is December 1st. And also, before I continue on, guys, if anyone's out there, in case I'm not, there will be no Walker Report this Thursday. It will be on Black Friday. So I'm going to go out there and wish everyone out in Facebook land, everyone out there in Zoom, and everyone out there, period, happy Thanksgiving. Be safe out there. Enjoy the day with your family and stuff. Just throw out a happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, because I will not be on the air on Thursday. I'm going to go ahead and do my show on Black Friday on the eve of the Florida State-Florida game. I have some callers calling in. I'm going to get both sides going with both Gators and Seminole fans. I want to hear from both of you. If there's anyone out there that wants to get on the Walker Report, let me know. I'll send you the information. But, guys, let's talk about the last 2 games with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were on a road trip, and they defeated the Chicago Blackhawks before coming back home. And let me see here. They defeated the Chicago Blackhawks 4-2 on the road. Again, these are game notes, guys, that I got from the from Amway Arena when I was there on Saturday. Tampa Bay ended its brief 2-game losing skid following a 4-2 win over the Chicago Blackhawks at the United Center on Thursday. The Lightning have now won 8 in a row over Chicago and are on a 16 regular game winning streak against the Hawks. Tampa Bay picked up its first victory this season over a Central Division opponent. Mikhail Sergachev ended the game's opening goal in his first goal this season at 16th on the power play. Anthony Cirelli put the Lightning back in front 2-1 at the 9:44 of the final frame. Braden Point ended the game-winning goal at 12:23 of the third. Point scoring the game-winning goal in the last 3 wins over Chicago. Mr. Barquette added an empty net goal with a minute to go. Curtis McElhinney stopped 32 of 34 shots to win his 3rd consecutive start after beginning the season 0-1-2. Steven Stamkos sustained a lower body injury in the first period and did not play in the second or third. Nikita Kucherov missed his first game since March 1st of 2018. Again, guys, Steven Stamkos is actually not playing tonight against the Buffalo Sabres either. Kucherov is back in the lineup, and he was on Saturday as well. Saturday's game was a 6-2 win over the Anaheim Ducks. Not a lot of Duck fans in the arena, obviously, being that it's a West Coast team, and unless you have a lot of money and you're coming here for the holidays, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to travel across the country to watch a regular season game. Now, if this was a playoff game, it would be a little bit different, but because this is and the only time you can have a playoff game between those 2 teams would be if they were meeting in the Stanley Cup. But if it was that kind of thing, guys, there'd probably be a lot more Duck fans in the arena. There was not a lot of Duck fans in the arena. The Lightning won 6-2. They got off to a slow start in the first period. It was 1-1 after the first period. In fact, they allowed a shorthanded goal on a power play that they had to let the Ducks tie the game. But after they came out in the second period, again, guys, they forechecked better, handled the puck better, passing was better, all the way around better stuff in the second period that led to more goals and led to a 6-2 win. And if you guys don't know and you're out there listening, the Tampa Bay Lightning wear their black jerseys at home on Saturday nights. It's their 3rd jersey that they wear. Pretty cool show what they do before the drop of the puck, where they say on Saturday nights in Tampa, blue fades to black, and they wear their black jerseys at home. But it is they did win 6-2. Very exciting game. They were 3 for 3 on the power play. That is something that has been getting better. Actually, I think they have the best power play at home this year in the National Hockey League, so that's good. Again, it was an overall good game. They needed a win. They're moving up in points, and again, there's a lot of games in hand with a lot of these teams that are in front of them. So all they got to do is just take advantage of those games. Just take advantage of the games that you have in hand with all these teams. Again, guys, it's still early in the second period, 14:39. The Sabres are up 2-1, so it's still early in the period. But again, they're playing right now. The 6-2 win was nice on the other night, and they're back playing the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Again, if you remember, the last time they played Buffalo was in Sweden, and they won both games in Sweden during the Global Series. That was actually one of the first things I talked about on my first show, was about their victory there in the Global Series. But again, they're getting ready to go on a power play, guys, right now as we speak. So maybe they can get even here at 2. But again, guys, it was a nice game without Stamkos. They were able to score 6 goals. 3 of those came on the power play, which was nice. Vasilevsky had a good game, made some great saves down the stretch. Got chippy towards the end. Really just, there was a packed crowd, as there always is. That's something that, the Buccaneers, the Bulls, and the Rays need to take note of how well owner Jeff Finnick treats the fans at Amway Arena, and wants you to come back and be a part of the the vibe, the positive vibe that the team has. They've just been good for a long time, and maybe that's what it'll take, for the Rays and for the Bucks and everything, to get the fans to come back. And maybe the Rays in a new stadium. Again, that's been the talk, guys. In case you didn't know, there has been rumors speaking after the 2024 season that the Rays will do a half season here in St. Pete or Tampa. The other half will be in Montreal. So that's still up in the running again. Again, guys, that's 4 years away, 5 years away. Basically, what I think the Rays need to do is need to have someone step up to the plate and buy the team before Matt Silverman does what he's going to do. But again, guys, you go to a Lightning game, the atmosphere is always great. There's a lot of fan stuff going on. They do a lot of things before the game. They make you want to, buy a ticket. And, I'm not saying that tickets are cheap. They're not. They run anywhere now from, 40 to 50 bucks up in the nosebleed section. That's a lot of money for a lot of people. And they just tied the game with a goal. Mikhail Sergachev, I can't pronounce his name this evening, just scored the power play goal to even it up. But they, it's just fun to go there. I'm a past season ticket holder. I was ticket holder for 9 years with the Lightning through a lot of losing seasons. They had one winning season. But if you are where I'm doing this podcast from, the wall that's in front of me I'm facing is full of Lightning stuff. Right behind my TV is every puck I have. I have a huge puck collection. I have pucks up there. I have all of the bobbleheads from the 2004 or 2003 or 2005, 2003, 2004 season when they won the cup. I have the 10 collector bobbleheads they gave out. I have pucks from the 25th anniversary. I have the puck when they sent Marty St. Louis jersey to the rafters. I have the one from LeCavaliers. Their jerseys are hanging from the rafters along with all our championship banners. Of course, we have one Stanley Cup in 2004. So that would be the one we have. But again, guys, if you ever get a chance to go to a Lightning game, it's definitely worth it. Just be prepared. It's definitely worth going to the game because the atmosphere is so much better at Amway Arena than it is at Raymond James Stadium than it is at Tropicana Field. And you know what? Maybe if the fans start showing up for the Rays and they can get a new stadium, maybe they can have the same kind of, fan interaction that they do with the Lightning. Maybe that's what they need to kind of, inject some positivity into that team because they, you know what, guys, scary to say this, and I talked to some Yankee fans and Red Sox fans, and I'm telling you, they're scared. The Rays scare them, and as they should. They are a good baseball team, and they're going to miss Darno. That'll definitely be missed, but I mean, they're a good baseball team, and they're young, and it's just disappointing that they cannot get anyone to go to the ballpark. I mean, they've done some things. And again, this has nothing to do with the Rays, but this has something to do with Tropicana Field. I'm hoping to get press credentials for the East-West Shrine game like I did last year to watch that game. That's a football game. I got to sit in the press box at Tropicana Field for the first time. And again, guys, something about Amway Arena. That is the only press box in the Tampa Bay area that I have not sat in. So my goal to complete the trifecta will be to go there for a hockey game and or for something else that's happening there, maybe a college hockey game or something. I could get press credentials to go watch the game to complete the trifecta. As a writer, that is something that is on, of course, when you get credentials like I have last 2 years to USF. I want to thank iRock Media for that and the USF Bulls as a team or as a school for accepting us for a second year. I will be back. I'm going to go back to the spring game in a matter of 4 months from now or 5 months from now in April when we have another spring game and go back again next year. And hopefully the Bulls can have a better season. I'm going to get into them because, guys, it's not been pretty at all. And then, I'm dead serious when I say that it has not been pretty. But I'm going to go ahead, guys, and, the Rays, again, they may need a new stadium. Something needs to be done with the fan base there because it's disappointing that they cannot draw fans. And the Lightning, guys, again, I'm going to go ahead and talk about USF and the Bucks here. The Lightning are tied 2-2 in the second period, and I'll keep watching the TV to the right. But again, guys, just like I did last week, let's get in to USF. Unfortunately, guys, I was not at the USF game on Saturday night. I was at the Lightning game. The game kicked off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, early evening game. And from what I'm gathering, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I hear it was an ugly football game. Again, just like the game against Cincinnati, the Bulls got off to an early lead again and then blew that lead. But this time it wasn't blown at the end of the game. This time it was blown way before that point. I'm going to pull up the stats here real quick, guys, and give you kind of a lowdown of what happened. I had some people tell me that it could have been 21-0 and the Lightning just scored again, Cedric Paquette. And now it's 3-2 Tampa Bay. After the first quarter, guys, the Bulls led 10-7. And that would be the one and only lead they would have all night. And again, that would be the one and only time they scored points the entire night, as they were shut out in the final three quarters. They allowed Memphis to score 21 points in the second quarter, 14 in the third, and they added another 7 more points in the fourth quarter. Let's give you kind of what happened here. I'm going to go to ESPN.com here and go through some of the team stats that were on here. But this is not something – this, again, is not the way that this should be going this season. But this is how this game is going to go, and how the game went, how the season's going. And I'm going to go through here and kind of give you some stats, because this is why USF has been blown out all season long. It comes down to this. The defense has been good all season, and again, from what I understand, they did well again. But when you hear these stats, you're going to see how bad this football game actually was. And maybe, in fact, this might have been the worst game of the season. Now, I know they got shut out. And again, I apologize too, because I think I said last week that they won. They lost 42-0 to the Badgers. It was actually 49-0. So that's another mistake I made. This game was 49-10. They scored 10 points. But let me just rephrase this, how bad this game may have been compared to the Wisconsin game, the first game of the season. Here we go now, guys. I'm going to go through the stats by what I mean and how bad this was for the seniors, and how bad Charlie Strong and his coaching staff needs to wake up, because this is not the way that I would want to send my seniors out, because they're not going to a bowl game, guys. And I'll give you their opponent for next week, because this could happen again next week too. This is not something that's going to get any easier for them at all. But here we go. First downs, the Memphis Tigers had 31 first downs. How many did USF have? How about a handful? 5. Third down efficiency. Memphis, 9 of 16. USF, 3 for 15. Fourth down. Memphis Tigers, 2 for 2. USF, 0 for 1. Total yards for the game. Memphis Tigers, 560 total yards. The USF Bulls, 170. That is under 200 yards of total offense. The passing game, yards, 235 in the air for the Memphis Tigers. The Bulls, 44. Completion percentage, 19 for 31 for Brady White. Jordan McLeod, 5 for 14, but a total of 6 for 19 total on. Average yards per pass play. Memphis Tigers, 7.6. USF Bulls, 2.3. Ain't going to cut it. Interceptions thrown. Now, this might be the only bright stat that the USF Bulls had all night. Brady White was picked off twice. No turnovers, or no interceptions, should I say, for USF. Now, on the ground, I'm sorry, they had no turnovers at all. On the ground, the Memphis Tigers had 325 rushing yards. That has been the problem for the USF Bulls since last season. In fact, the last 2 years, their run defense has been horrible. And it showed up this past Saturday. The Bulls had 126 total yards rushing. Rush attempts, 58, averaging 5.6 yards a carry. The Bulls had 31 carries and only averaged 4.1, which 4.1 is not bad, but compared to 5.6 it is. On penalties, again, this is where the Bulls have struggled. Memphis had 4 penalties for 30 yards. The Bulls, 10 penalties for 60 yards. And again, just the 2 turnovers by Memphis. Time of possession, the Tigers, 38 minutes, 12 seconds. USF Bulls, 21 minutes, 48 seconds. This, guys, was an absolute drumming by the hands of the Memphis Tigers. And again, guys, I knew next week. I told you last week on this show, on this very show last week, I was calling for a blowout. And boy, I'm kind of sad that I'm right, that it happened. I don't wish anything bad upon USF. But for some off-the-wall reason, it came true. And they got blown out, guys. Plain and simple, they got blown out. They lost by 39 points on senior night. 17 seniors for USF. How do you go out losing by 39 points? The Memphis Tigers sure but surely punched their ticket to the AAC championship game against Cincinnati. The team that the USF Bulls lost to 2 weeks ago shouldn't have lost to them. All of the talent in the AAC, you can see the teams that were tough this year. SMU lost to the Bulls, lost to them. Cincinnati, Bulls lost to them. Memphis Tigers, Bulls lost to them. But guess what, guys? It doesn't get any easier. Because this week, USF travels to the Bounce House in Orlando, Florida, to play the UCF Knights. And by the way, in case you're wondering, the Knights have lost 3 games this season. They have. They have lost 3 games. Let's take a look, guys, at their road here, because again, this is touching upon their game on Black Friday. They are giving UCF a 93% chance of winning the game this Friday. USF has a 6% chance. Let's go through the stats so far this season and give you what the team stats are. Points per game scored. USF 22.1. UCF 43.8. Points allowed per game is very close between these two teams. The Bulls are allowing 28.5. UCF is allowing 24.3. So that's pretty close stat there. Total yards per game. The Bulls, 338. The UCF Knights, 536. Total passing yards. The Bulls are averaging 174.5. UCF, 321. Yards rushing, 163 yards for the Bulls. For the Knights, 215. Yards allowed. Again, this is another close stat. For USF, 385 yards. For UCF, 353. Pass yards, 178 allowed for USF. For UCF, 207. For rush yards allowed, here we go, the big stat. 206 yards on an average, guys, they've allowed this year. UCF is 145, about 146 for them. Coming into the game, guys, the last 5, it's a complete opposite when you look at it. The last 5 games, the Bulls are 1-4. UCF is 4-1. Dating back to the Navy game for USF, 35-3 loss. The win came against ECU, their only win in the last 5 on the road, 45-20. They lost to Temple at home. I was at that game, a game they should have won, lost 17-7. The next week, that was a Thursday night game, the Temple game. The next Saturday, the following Saturday after that, Cincinnati. I was there again for that game. Again, they had to lead the entire game. What happened? They lose on the final play of the game and lose 20-17. And then last week, last Saturday, in front of what I call not so good crowd. That's been the problem with USF for a long time, is their attendance. Guys, I sit in the booth. There are a ton of empty seats. And you know what's even worse about the empty seats is there's nobody in the student section. I don't know where any other college football game I've ever turned on TV and there isn't anybody in the student area. There are no students coming to the games at all. None. That's a shame, man. That is a shame. That means that the students know how bad this football team really is, how bad they really are. And it's disappointing. As a fan and as a writer for them, it's disappointing to see that you can't even get your own student body to come to the games. That's sad. Now let's go through UCF's last 5. Starting back on the 19th of October, they won 41-28 at home against the Pirates. They go on the road to Temple and blow them out 63-21. They beat Houston at home 44-29. Their lone loss came just 2 weeks ago on the 8th, actually 3 weeks ago on the 8th. They lost 34-31 on the road to Tulsa. Last week, they squeaked out a 3-point win over the Tulane Green Wave on the road, 34-31. Now, remember, guys, too, UCF is bowl eligible. They are 8-3 on the season, 5-2 in the conference. USF will not be in a bowl game this year. You have to have 6 wins. Even if they beat UCF, they would be 5-7. They're currently 2-5 in the conference. This game has been kind of a one-sided venture the last 2 years as UCF owns the 2 wins the last 2 seasons. And I don't see anything changing this year either. It's kind of interesting to say that coming in about 2 weeks ago when they were playing Temple, 3 weeks ago, and I thought maybe they had a shot to get a shot at a bowl game. Well, that was all erased because now that's not going to happen. They have lost 3 games in a row, and now they go on the road to play a team who just came off of a close win. They have, again, maybe the best part about this game, guys, might be the fact that the kickoff isn't until 8 o'clock at night. It's not on during the day. If you're a Black Friday shopper and you get up early to go to shop or whatever, and you are a Bulls fan or a Knights fan, you can still watch the game. I mean, I will be working at my job. I will be able to watch the game. I missed the game last year due to a work conflict. And also, guys, something about last year too. I received a death threat last year for that game, and I did not go to the game mainly because I got to work, but I did receive a death threat, guys, for that. If you want to know more details about that, you can message me on Facebook, and I'll be more than happy to tell you what happened. But it did happen. I have gotten 2 death threats, guys, from being a writer. It's pretty sad that you cannot write your own opinion without someone trying to send you death threats because they're mad because of how you write or how you pick apart their team. But it happened. And it's disappointing, man, that it's that way. It really is, honestly, and but again, I really don't see too much. I don't see how this is going to be an improvement, and I think for all the people out there that ask me every week when USF loses another game, will this be the last game for Charlie Strong? I believe, guys, if they get blown out like they did this past Saturday, he is fired. The question is, who is it that they're going to replace him? I think it's time to call Tallahassee. I think it's time to get Jim Leavitt back. Because let me tell you something about what happened when Jim Leavitt was here as a coach. There were butts in the seats. This team was winning games. There was no problems. He left, and it's gone downhill ever since. Skip Holtz, Willie Taggart, Charlie Strong, none of them have worked out since he was let go. Maybe it's time for Michael Kelly and company to call Tallahassee and see what it'll take to get Jim Leavitt back here, because I think that will be a spark that this program needs to get back on track. Will we see Kerwin Bell next season? I don't know. If Charlie Strong stays, yes. But then they would say, well, why don't you make Kerwin Bell the coach? How's that working out this year? The offense has looked bad. And again, guys, I just went through how many yards they average a game. 338. That's not a lot at all. So this offense has struggled all season. They've looked discombobulated in some games. Some games they've played well. Again, the game against ECU is an example of that game. But this offense looks discombobulated at times. It's disappointing to say that, but that's the truth. I can definitely see another game just like we saw last Saturday. I hate to say that, but I have a funny feeling that UCF will dominate like they have the past 2 years, because they have. Don't be surprised if this team doesn't do the same thing that they did last week against Memphis. Watch them get out to a good start, and they cannot seem to hold the lead. They were unable to do it against Cincinnati, and they were unable to do it last week against Memphis. I guess, I had somebody tell me that watched the game that said that they could have been up 21-0, 24-0, excuse me, at the half. Instead, if you go back and look, they were down 28-10 at half. Had they scored and been up 20, maybe they were only down 28-24, it would have been a different ball game in the second half. But again, as we always say, those coulda, woulda, shoulda games, right? Those coulda, woulda, shoulda. That's kind of what's been going on this season for them. And I keep repeating myself when I say that, and I apologize, but that's just the way it is. This team is better than what their record is. But again, guys, they're young. They're making mistakes, and the mistakes that they make are just costing them football games. And that's just the way it is, man. They're nowhere near the Memphis level. They're nowhere near Cincinnati's level. They're in the middle of the pack. SMU is back. They're in the middle of the pack, guys. They're like they might even be below Tulane, UCF, teams like that. They're in the level with, the ECUs, the UConns, UConn, I think, is not even in the conference anymore. UConn has moved to independent. Or no, I'm sorry, UConn moved. Yes, UConn moved. They're independent in football, and so is UMass. Both of those teams are now out of the conference. They have both moved out of the conference. So they're both gone because they can't compete with the AAC. And remember, guys, USF was in Conference USA, too. They were not a Division I team for a while. And, you know, they're going to have to do something in this program here soon because it's going downhill fast. If Coach Charlie Strong survives the season and they lose and they go 4-8 this year, again, guys, he has not won a game in the month of November, by the way. He didn't win any games in November last year. He has not won one this year either. So this will be the last chance he has. They're 0-3 so far in the month of November. He didn't win a game in November last year, closing out the season. It's not something that let's take a look, guys. Let's go back here and take a look at USF versus UCF. Now, I know this much right now. USF does lead the series overall. I think it's 6-4. So let's see here. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. The USF Bulls do have a 6-4 record against UCF. UCF has a 2-game winning streak as they won in 2017 and 2018. The largest margin of victory for both teams. The Bulls beat the Knights 64-12 in 2007. They have a 4-game winning streak from 05 to 08. Longest winning streak is 2, and that's happened twice. The Knights own a 38-10 win last year at Raymond James Stadium. That is their largest win over the Bulls so far this year. So as I say, you know, you look here, that's just the way it is, guys. And I mean, I just, to be honest with you right now, I just don't see any way that they will be able to beat the Knights. Maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe if they had won both the games, maybe if they had beat Temple and Cincinnati, have an outside shot of beating the Knights. But really, I could venture to say that they are on the way to losing another game against the Knights and having another year of Knight fans telling them that USF is no good. And it could very likely happen that way this Saturday in Orlando. Again, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff on ESPN. I'm going to be watching. I watched last year and turned it off about halfway through. I don't know anything else going on, but that's just the way it goes. I could see, guys, again, I could see another blowout this Saturday. I'm not going to give a final score, but I could see them losing by 30 points or more. I had a funny feeling the Memphis game was going to be a blowout, and that ended up being correct. And I hate to be correct on something like that, but that's what happened. So, guys, before I go off, I got about 15 minutes left on my show. So let's get to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, here we are last week at this time. Before I get into the Bucs, an update on the Lightning. It's 3-2 after 2 periods, so they are in the second intermission. The Buccaneers, guys, last week, not good. Not good against the Saints. Had some troubles with the Saints. This week, they traveled to Atlanta to play an Atlanta team who had allowed no touchdowns the previous 2 games to the Saints and the Panthers. Both on the road, by the way. Atlanta beat them both in their house and did not allow a touchdown to either team. Well, that ended yesterday. The Bucs scored 5. 5 touchdowns in a 35-22 win. Now, the Bucs did not play mistake-free football. Jameis Winston had 2 interceptions but threw 3 touchdown passes. Matt Gay was 1 for 1 in the field goal department but missed 3 extra points yesterday. So, I mean, again, if you look at that, it could have been 38-22. But he missed 3 extra points yesterday. But they still were able to win. 6 sacks yesterday on defense. 2 by rookie Devin White. That man has been a stud on defense. And let's talk about the defense, because that's been the bright point. Let's talk about the man they call the Vita Vea. Caught a touchdown pass yesterday. Yes, the defensive lineman named Vita Vea caught a touchdown pass yesterday from Jameis Winston. How about that? He has been a dominating force. Dominic Sue had a fumble recovery for a touchdown yesterday. In fact, that was the final touchdown they had yesterday. The defense did well enough. They kept Atlanta on the ropes the entire game. They really much held. Let's look at the box score, guys, real quick for them. For the Bucs and the Falcons yesterday. And guys, I just wrote an article for iRock Media. It'll be up probably tomorrow. So head on over to iRock Media. That's IRON as in Nancy, IQ as in quarter, MEMEDIA media.com. And search under Buccaneers or NFL, and there'll be my articles will be on there about the game from yesterday on there. Let's see, guys, let's see here. See the stats here real quick. Let's see, game highlights. There we go. All right. So again, guys, this was yesterday's game. Let me give you the game stats here. Again, this is courtesy of ESPN, as I read the stats from the USF game as well. This came off of ESPN.com. I like ESPN's game reviews and stuff like that. I like their stats. Let's go down through the stats, guys, of yesterday's Bucs game, Bucs in Atlanta. First downs, the Buccaneers had 20. Atlanta had 22. Passing first downs, the Bucs had 13. Atlanta had 14. Rushing first downs, the Bucs had 7. Falcons had 5. Third down from penalties, the Bucs had no first downs from penalties. Atlanta had 3. Third down efficiency, the Bucs were 6 for 13. That's 50%. That's good enough. The Falcons were 4 for 16. Again, that's 25%. Total plays, the Buccaneers had 62 total plays. The Falcons had 80. Total yards, Buccaneers 446. Atlanta Falcons 337. Total drives was even for both teams at the lucky number 13. Yards per play, the Bucs had 7.2 yards per play. The Falcons only had 4.2. There's the reason why. One of the major reasons why you saw the Bucs win yesterday is right there. Passing yards, guys, the Bucs had 313 passing yards. Atlanta had 280. Completion percentage, Jameis Winston 18 for 28. That is not bad. That is not bad. The Falcons had 20 of 55. That was between both Matt Ryan and their backup quarterback. Yards per pass, the Bucs 11.2 yards per pass. Atlanta 4.6. Interceptions, again, as I mentioned earlier, Winston had 2 picks. The Falcons had 1 as well. But here's the sacks right here, baby. This is something that we have been waiting to see. The Bucs allowed 0 sacks yesterday. They kept Jameis clean. Falcons had 6 sacks for 46 yards on the loss. The rushing game, the Bucs 133 yards on the ground. They held the Falcons guys to 57 yards on the ground. Rush attempts 34. They only had 19 rush attempts for the Falcons. The average yards were about the same, guys. The Bucs averaged 3.9. The Falcons averaged 3. Red zone attempts. The Bucs were 3 for 4 in the red zone. Atlanta was 1 for 4. Penalties. The Bucs had more penalties, 8 for 51 yards. Atlanta had 7 for 60. They both had 2 turnovers, 1 fumble, 1 interception for the Falcons, 2 picks for the Buccaneers. There were defensive and special teams touchdowns. There were 2 by the defense yesterday for the Buccaneers. The Falcons had 0. And the time of possession, the Bucs 28 minutes, 22 seconds. The Falcons 31 minutes, 38 seconds. There were 2 things that happened yesterday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chris Godwin had an outstanding football game. 7 receptions, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Him and Mike Evans both achieved 1,000 yards for the season yesterday. 2 wide receivers for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that have had 1,000 yards this year. And Godwin, guys, has been an absolute stud. Ronald Jones is another guy yesterday. He had 12 carries for 51 yards and a touchdown. They're going, guys, to Jacksonville this week. Jacksonville gave up a bunch of yards yesterday on the ground to Henry and the Titans. Look for the Bucs. Look for Byron Leftwich to use the running game. I would say look for Jones and Barber and even Obagalale to have a good rushing day. They also played a pivotal role in keeping Jameis clean. Picked up a lot of blitz things. Falcons came from everywhere. They kept the jersey clean. He threw 2 early interceptions, but at the end of the day, guys, he still threw the ball. There was a great catch by Godwin in the, I think it was either the first or second quarter. I don't remember which quarter. It was a 71-yard touchdown that Godwin caught, and that was, he was wide. I mean, Jameis threaded the needle and got it in there. I mean, it was a small window, but he found a way to get it in there. And, this is how the Bucs can win. And this is a game, guys, that I believe that the Bucs can build on moving forward. If they can play like this is a complete football game because everyone, I mean, you can forget. See, when you have games like this, guys, where you turn the ball over twice, you miss 3 extra points, but when the team can stand tough like they did yesterday, they have a chance to make a run here, guys. The Bucs are 4-7. 5 games left, guys. 5. Okay. They got 5 games left. They got the Jaguars in Jacksonville this week. If they play like they did this week, they should have no issues whatsoever with the Jaguars next week. None. They have the Jaguars coming up. Let's see. They have Jacksonville. Let's see who they have left here. They have Jacksonville on the schedule. They're at Jacksonville. They're home against the Colts, who have been kind of up and down. The Colts had a very good game yesterday. Obviously, they're not missing Andrew Luck. I think we were all thought that maybe that was going to be the way it was. They were going to miss Andrew Luck. Not to be. They're playing at Detroit. If Matthew Stafford is not playing, that game should be won. The only tough game I see on the schedule left, guys, for them is the Houston Texans at home on the 21st of December. Then they have the Falcons on the last home game of the season is at Atlanta. And again, if they play like they did yesterday, they can win all 5 of these games on the schedule. The only game I see them not winning is possibly the Texans game. If they can win and be 8-8, that's a winning season. I mean, yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs. But if they can go 500, That's a huge improvement from being 5-11. In fact, if they can win just 3 games and go 7-9 and not go 5-11 or 6-10, that's a win. For Bucs fans, it has to be a win. If they go 8-8, the city might go into a riot in a good way. If they go 8-8. But they definitely, if they play like they did yesterday, guys, they can do that. No doubt about that. They played a complete football game yesterday. They won all 3 sides of the ball. They won all 3. Their defense has been playing well and only getting better. If Winston can somehow stay away from making just make small mistakes, stays away from the intersections. He made some plays after the 2 picks yesterday that I saw that I was impressed with, where he escapes the pocket and throws the ball away. You want to see that kind of stuff out of him. He doesn't need to make a play. Doesn't need to make a SportsCenter top 10 play. Get rid of the ball. Play further down. The running game is starting to come about. And guess what? They're going up against a pretty poor running defense this week in Jacksonville. Guys, it's looking pretty bright right now. I mean, I think the Bucs have a shot at winning 2 in a row. I really do. They're 2 in a row. Again, if you look at the schedule, they have 3 home games and 2 road games left. This is one of the 2 remaining road games they have left. The other game is at Detroit. And that's 10 days before Christmas. And thank God that the Lions don't play outside, because the Bucs do not play very well in the snow, as we all know. Being from down here, we don't see snow that often. In fact, this host to this show has never seen snow in person. And I'm 36 years old. So I have never seen snow in person. But again, guys, as I say, man, I think of this. I think that if they play like they did yesterday, there's no doubt in my mind that this team cannot win 4 games or even all 5 games left. The only game that I can see them struggling in again would be the Houston game with Deshaun Watson and company. But for the most part, guys, they are if they play like they did yesterday, that complete game, Dirk Cutter needs to roll the highlight film. Roll it out, show these guys they can win. Because they definitely have the team to win. They definitely have the team to go down and do what they need to do in Jacksonville next week to win again. So I wish the Bucs the best of luck. The Bulls the best of luck in Orlando. The Lightning are currently winning, guys, and the best of luck with the Rays. Hopefully they can get some signees and some free agents. I will keep you guys looped up about them moving forward. Before I get off my show here, guys, as I'm getting to the end of my show here, this game this Saturday between Florida and Florida State has always been a big game for me, being that I'm also a Gator fan. My late uncle, who passed away on Christmas Day from brain cancer, and it's funny how hockey's doing cancer night tonight. Playing the national anthem, had a few tears. I've lost 3 family members to that dreaded disease. I have a friend who survived breast cancer. I have one that's going through it currently. Prayers to both of them. Prayers to anyone out there who's lost a loved one to cancer and or who is still living, who's been a survivor. Anyone that's going through that horrible disease, prayers. But before I get into it, guys, again, it's the Gators and the Noles in Gainesville this Saturday. And I believe it's also a night game. Let me see, guys. Let me look back here real quick. I believe that it was a night game. Let's see. want to say I think it was a 7:30 kickoff. So let's see. I want to try to get this right, guys. I'm going to talk a lot about this, guys, on my other podcast, the Walker Report on Black Friday. I'm going to really go into this in heavy detail. Yeah, it's a 7:30 kick this Saturday. So I'll be home. I'll make sure I'm home to watch that game all the way through. But I'm going to talk about this a lot on the Walker Report. I'm going to do it on Black Friday so I can get Noles and Gator fans on there, and maybe get some Michigan, Ohio State fans on there on my show that talks more about national sports than on here. Well, then, guys, I mean, again, the Gators-Noles game is always a classic on Thanksgiving weekend, so I'll be looking forward to that. But with that, guys, as my time has come upon me, my 1 hour that I do this every week is up. I do appreciate everyone who popped in on Facebook. I had 2 people. Anyone that came in on my Zoom. I'm still looking to try to get my first phone call. I put the stuff on social media for you guys to call. I'm still looking for my first caller. This is my 5th show, and I don't have anyone that's called in yet. But with that, guys, as I'm going to go ahead and end my show, I want to thank the men and women of our armed services for their absolute, them volunteering what they do, putting their lives on the line for us, both retired and active. Thank you very much. I would not be sitting here doing this without you guys. I also want to give a shout out to our domestic soldiers, our firefighters, paramedics, and police officers. Thank you for keeping us safe. With that, guys, this is the Sports Nerd signing off again for Tampa Talk. I'll be back. Well, I won't be back on Monday, guys. The next show you will hear from me will be next Saturday. Not this Saturday coming up, but on Saturday the 7th, I will be there. I'm sorry, I do have another show coming up. Hang on a minute. Let me look. Sorry, hang on. I may have that wrong. Let's look here real quick. I'm sorry, I do have a show on next Monday the 2nd. The following Monday after that, it will be the show that I will not be here, as I'll be at the Lightning game. So I will not be here on the 9th. That show will be recorded on the 7th. But I will be back here, guys, next Monday the 2nd. Come back and join me from 8 to 9 p.m. Until then, man, this is Brad Walker, the Sports Nerd, signing off. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I love all you guys. Peace.